My friend brought this over to my house. It has sentimental value for her, but it doesn't work with her modern home. Do you think I can make it look more modern? This is how she dropped it off. So the first thing I had to do was put it together so I could assess what I needed to do. These little doors are just supposed to slide in there and then they open and close and have like a little locking pin. Do you think I could figure out how to get these doors to go into place? I must have tried 20 different ways and I was about to lose my mind when finally they fit into place. But of course, I couldn't get the next set to go in and I had to try over again. She didn't want to keep the Asian-inspired hardware, so the first thing I did was removed all the hardware. Each piece was just held on with little tiny nails, so I used my 5-in-1 paint tool to gently pry up the nails without damaging the finish. I decided to start with the centerpiece, so I took it outside and took it apart. It has 3 drawers on the bottom, a couple of which were badly damaged from a dog chewing on them, and then one side of it has these cabinet doors that open and slide into the piece, and the other side has removable doors. So once again, we're going to take off this hardware. I am going to save it. Maybe I can use it on a future project. I just carefully slid painter's tools underneath it until I was able to pry the pieces out. I did go shopping with my friend. We picked out some really cool brushed brass hardware that is going to go on the final piece once it's done. I think you're going to like it. After wiping it down with some soapy hot water and letting it dry, I grabbed my hand sander. I'm just scuff sanding it. I'm using an 80 grit sanding net to go over it to get the shiny finish off. This is going to be a painted piece, so I don't need to sand down to bare wood. And this isn't a really high quality wood anyway, so I would worry about sanding it too much. But I do want to go over the entire piece and get that shiny finish off and give my new finish something to stick to. Once I finished sanding, I grabbed my degreaser to give it another final cleaning. I call it the PPP method. You have to prep, paint, and then protect. And most of the time when you're refinishing furniture with paint, you're going to spend the majority of your time on the prep part. You really have to get the piece ready to take the paint. And in this situation, I am now putting on primer. This is a shellac-based primer. It has a strong odor, so I always make sure I use it outside, and I typically wear my respirator or at least a mask when I'm using it. But what this does is this sticks to the piece of furniture and makes sure that the paint won't easily scratch or chip or peel off. And it also blocks any stains from coming through, any tannins, any smells, anything like that. So priming and prepping your piece is super important to make sure that you get a really nice quality paint job. I'm using a little foam roller here so that I put it on without any brush strokes because this product does dry really fast. And of course, once I have primed it, before I paint it, I will go over it gently with some sandpaper to remove any bumps, any pieces of lint, or anything that will show through once it's painted. You don't have to be perfect with your primer, but you really want to make sure that you try to get a light, even application of the product. And I like these little rollers. I use them once and toss them. I pick them up. Sometimes I'll get them at Dollar Tree or I'll get them at a hardware shop. There's usually like 5 or 6 of them in a container. Now the fun part, painting. I'm hand painting because it's summer and it's hot. And when I use a sprayer, I just find that the paint dries a little too fast. So for this project, I'm using a combination of antique white and millstone by General Finishes paint. My friends and I went to Home Depot and we went back to the kitchen cabinet section and she looked at different kitchen cabinet finishes so I could get an idea of what kind of colors she liked. You know, when someone says make something white or cream or cafe au lait, there's so many variations of white. And I found it's really helpful to spend some time with my customer to get an idea of what they mean when they say creamy white. So this is based off of some kitchen cabinets at Home Depot. They will let you take them up to their paint section to paint match, but I found it's not always the exact same color, but that is a trick that you can use if you're wanting to do some furniture or wanting to do your kitchen cabinets, is go pick out a sample that you like at Home Depot in the cabinet section and then take it up to the paint section and they will paint match for you. I'm now going in with my first layer of paint, and with first layer of paint, it's just really important to get an even coat. Make sure that you're covering up all of the areas. This also helps you identify if there's any scratches or dents or things that you might want to come back with some wood filler. Do light even coats and allow to dry between each coat. Now, this is where, unfortunately, a puppy that they'd had years ago had chewed on some of the step sides of the cabinet and some of the drawers. So what I'm doing is I am mixing up Bondo. This is a product. It has two parts that you mix together. It hardens really fast. And this can was a little bit old, so it's not a super smooth texture, but it's going to work for step one of this process. So I mix up my Bondo with the hardening agent, and then I'm using a little piece of cardboard here just to smooth it onto the piece of furniture and start to rebuild this corner where a dog had chewed it. You can see I've already scuff sanded the piece of furniture, and now I'm going in and doing the repairs. I just want to try to fill it in, build it up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some cardboard and painter's tape to help give this that edge that it's going to need so that when it's painted, you won't be able to see where the dog had gone to town on it. So just like that, take a piece of cardboard, I'll tape it on there. Then I will let the Bondo harden overnight. Then I'll come back in, I will sand it, maybe apply a little bit more Bondo. Once I've gotten kind of the nice shape that I'm looking for, I'll come back in and use a wood filler or a Bondo glaze to finish and make it nice and smooth before I paint over it. So this is the wood filler that I typically use. It's just plastic wood. You can pick it up at any Home Depot, Lowe's, any place like that. I'll go ahead and apply this to anywhere that there are scratches, cracks, or chips. And here you can see I'm putting this wood filler now over the Bondo to smooth it down. And hopefully when I'm done, you won't even be able to see where the dog had chewed on it. This is before sanding. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to sand. I'm just using my hand sander, but I do sometimes use my battery powered sander as well. And then once I've got everything sanded down and primed, I'll start going in with the paint. Here's what the sliding doors look like. Unfortunately, 3 of the drawers were in really bad shape, and I was having a hard time getting a really smooth finish on the edges of them and getting kind of a crisp drawer shape. So what I did is I purchased these bamboo placemats off of Amazon, and I am going to cut them down to size. First, I'll go in and I'll remove the binding around the edge. I'm just using a little utility knife here to go in and cut the strings and remove that binding. And then I'll cut the placemats down to edge. Fortunately for me, this set, the width of the placemat is the exact same width of the drawer. So I am super lucky because I'm not going to have to do a lot of cutting to get these to fit into place. Be careful though when you are removing the sides like this. Bamboo splinters pretty easily, and I did get a couple splinters before I finished this task. I measured each piece and determined where I needed to cut in between the little bamboo slats, and I just cut through the backing of it. Then I cleaned my drawers really well after they had been lightly sanded. Don't need to bother priming if I'm going to cover them with the bamboo placemats. And for this, I'm using Tite Bond Premium Wood Glue. I'm going to apply this to the surface of the drawer face, and I'm just using a little paintbrush here to make sure that the entire surface is covered and that I have a nice even application. And then once I get that on there, I'm just going to take the placemat that I have pre-measured and pre-cut and lay it in place. So I'm just going to carefully line it up. I want to make sure that the top of the drawer where it opens and what you'll see when you pull it open is perfectly lined up with the top of the bamboo. If the bottom isn't exactly perfect, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's ever going to really look at the bottom of the drawer. Once I get it in place, I'll press down. The glue will come up through the seams, so I have a little shop towel or some paper towels handy so I can wipe off the excess glue. I really want to make sure that I've got it lined up just perfectly on both sides and on that top edge. And then I'm going to just grab something heavy. You can use clamps. I'm just using some weights that my son had laying around to put them on top of the drawer. And I will leave this and let it dry overnight to make sure it secures firmly. Now, once it's in place, looking good, I'm just going to give it a very gentle sanding to get any rough edges down, make sure that there's no glue that had bubbled up through it overnight. And once I've got it sanded down, then I'm going to paint it to match the rest of the furniture. I think this is a really cheap, simple way to fix where the dogs had chewed those drawers. And also it gives the piece just a little bit more character. So I'm actually glad that I came up with this idea. I think it's going to look really cute once it's painted and has the new hardware in place. Guys, this is looking so good. There's one of the side pieces and there's the middle piece with those 3 drawers. Took a selfie to send my friend for a sneak peek. And now I'm going to put the hardware in place. One of the challenges I had was that the drawers that slide back and forth, I couldn't have the screw extending past the flush back of it or it would scratch the drawer. So I had to widen the screw hole a little bit and I used a washer to get it in there nice and flush with the screw. This way, there will be no hardware sticking out beyond the back of the wood, so it won't scratch the other drawer. This is what it looks like, and here we go. See, it slides nice and cleanly without scratching that. So I did that to all of the sliding doors. Yes, I've learned how to put them in place. And I do have a tool that I can use to measure and align my holes for my hardware. But for some reason, I didn't go get it out of the garage. So what I did is I grabbed a piece of tape. I measured the center of the drawer, put the tape on, measured the holes, and then used that for each drawer. And then I did something similar for these 2 doors. Using the same piece of tape on each door ensures that the holes for the hardware are exactly even. So here's where we started. And after months and months of working on it, here's what it looks like now. So structurally, the piece is the same. However, it has this new soft modern color and this gorgeous brushed brass hardware. The Asian hardware has been taken off of it. Every piece was 2-sided, so it did take a really long time to finish it, but there's so many cute options with what you can do with this in your home. You can use it as one piece or you can use it as separate pieces. And my friend has 3 children and her hope is that one day each of her children will take one piece and proudly display it in their home. So thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll take the time to let me know what you think, like, and subscribe to my channel. And here it goes. It's going back to their home where it's going to serve as a room divider. Thank you for watching.